Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Your Little Castle Show. Usually I have something very intellectual to talk about. That's because I want to feel like I'm contributing. But instead, this show, I got one for you. This is a little personal. You guys ready? I was a kid. My dad bought me a mini bike. Mini bikes are completely safe, right? I guess any kind of motorcycle.
If it's two wheels, you're running a risk.
Oh, excuse me, oh brother. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my guest here. You can see a nice young gentleman sitting in the studio. Mark Feltz, founder and trainer, New on Two LLC. New on Two, two wheels.
Two wheels.
Limited Liability Corporation, LLC. And Mark can help us all understand the safety requirements, those things you better learn to do well. I talked to Mark. We're going to get into this. Let me first give a shout out. We got some really cool people that helped make this whole thing happen. There they are. Carol House Furniture. Because you like nice things in your little castle. And if you've done well, you've got a car. But if you've done pretty well, or if you just enjoy life a little bit more than the rest of us, you get a motorcycle. Is that true?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's got to do with doing well, but I will say that it has to do...
There's a lot of people who just like that's their primary means of transportation.
No doubt, and I will say it has a lot to do with enjoying life to its fullest.
There you go. I'll take that. That's right. Because I know some people that are like, I don't want a car because it's expensive and high maintenance and all that, so I use a motorcycle. Is that true for some people?
Cheaper.
Cheaper, yeah.
Better
more
mileage.
Efficient, yeah, right.
More
There's
flexibility.
a lot of reasons that you might have a motorcycle, not just for fun.
Agreed.
But I like to talk about the fun part of life, and we get experts. I talked to Mark before we started the show here, and I said, all my life, since I've been a grown-up, which was real recent, I guess, for a lot of people, like, Cowboy, you still haven't grown up, man. What's going on here?
No, that's my problem as well.
You got the same problem. I'm a Toys R Us kid. But motorcycles are fun, but they can be something that you need to be concerned with, making sure that you're safe. And that was my concern. When I was a kid, I had a mini bike. Mini bikes are a complete blast. But mini bikes can be, a little bit dangerous. The mini bike was actually probably as dangerous as my go-kart.
Easily.
Would you say?
Easily.
That's fair, isn't it? And then I ended up seeing as I got older, some of my friends. So Mark's going to help me ease my pain to understand that if you do have, who's going to teach me to ride this thing? Well, here he is, everybody. Mark Feltz will teach us about what it is you need to know to drive a motorcycle safely. True?
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
Yes.
They are big machinery.
Exactly.
And if you don't understand how to handle it,
Exactly.
two wheels, a lot of people argue, can be a little more difficult than four wheels.
Well, in Missouri, we have an endorsement for riding a motorcycle legally, and I don't provide that endorsement. What I do is teach you not just the 5 lessons necessary to get your state-sponsored endorsement, which makes you legal, but it doesn't get you ready to actually operate in traffic. It doesn't get you prepared for things you can't foresee until it happens. And that's not the job of the courses that provide you with an endorsement. That's my job, is to show you and teach you how to be better prepared for the things that you can't anticipate.
Well, that's what I talk about because what do they call that? They call that, have you ever laid one down?
Yep.
And everybody says, oh yeah, I have laid down my motorcycle a couple times. And that makes me go, oh, and what happened? Well, road rash or whatever. Sometimes it's much more serious. But is that often the case because they didn't understand what they were really getting into? And they didn't have any professional training by somebody that can make sure that's a little less likely.
I won't say that understanding the operation of your bike is going to, in all cases, prevent you from ever being in a position where you have an accident. Sure. There's no question about that, because you can't be responsible for other drivers. Right. What you can do is be aware, and awareness is everything on two wheels. You have 2 things in your favor. One is acceleration, one is maneuverability. But you don't get the luxury of not being completely focused on your travel, on your trip, on your ride.
There we go. So that's where I jump in with. I personally, like I said, just seeing that, and I know people that they use wheelies and they stand up on the motorcycle. They do all this crazy stuff. You're not an advocate of that kind of
No,
thing.
not at all. Not at all. I'm an advocate of getting out on two wheels and riding the river road, enjoying the smell of the river, enjoying the smell of the blooms on the side of the road. Being able to completely immerse yourself in the enjoyment that comes with riding down the road without a car, without the confines of an automobile around you.
Right, and there's just it's a better way to enjoy this little planet, and I get it because where I rode was a pretty safe area. It was gravel roads, little pebble roads. It wasn't really gravel, but gravel is really dangerous on a motorcycle, right? But these
Can
little
be.
roads, they can be. Yeah, they do these little roads, but that was all they had. Now I've noticed now since I went back to the cabin after 20 years on the river. I said, my mom's like, I'm like, the cabin is just as close as up here on the Mississippi, and I don't have to have a $30,000 boat to do it.
Exactly.
And I did all that. But when you're riding on these gravel roads or any road on any kind of bike, there was a little more controlled because there weren't always a lot of traffic going through.
Sure.
Traffic.
Sure.
But I still knew that when I wiped out a couple times, right? Little scrapes or whatever. But when you're talking about a motorcycle, you want to make sure you know what you're doing, and if you do, it's not like people don't. I want people to freak out. Oh my gosh! No, motorcycles are very safe. Anybody knows how to professionally ride them,
Or safely operate them.
Safely
Sure.
ride them, will have a much more pleasurable experience because they're not. I mean, in my own mind, I was like, for me. So Mark's helping me realize because I've for years talked about I will get a Harley Davidson before I die. And it will be something I will enjoy because I will have. But who's going to teach me? I should have figured there are people out there. Mark, why couldn't I have run into you like 5 years ago before I spent all my money on other stuff?
First off, I'm going to suggest that you get an Indian as opposed to that Harley Davidson. Although
right.
Harley Davidson builds an excellent bike. My son's on a street glide.
I've
He's
heard of
in
Indian. You'll have
Wilmington.
to tell me the difference between those.
Indian was the first American-made bike. I think we're a year ahead of Harley Davidson. But the
Right.
truth is, we're 1901. They're 1903.
around-
They're both
been around for a
American-made big twin motorcycles. That said, the safety of operating the bike has everything to do with, like I say, awareness. You have to be cognizant of what you're doing, of what the people around you are doing. You cannot take things for granted. If you're in a car and you're going to change lanes, if you edge towards that lane, the other traffic knows you're moving that way. Not to mention the fact you can bully your way into that lane. You can't do that on a motorcycle. You have to be cognizant of what those drivers are anticipating and avoid that moment. Very much like staying off the gravel road. Take the paved road if possible. If you're in a hurry, take the car. If you're looking to enjoy this ride, that's a perfect mindset to be in to get on your bike.
My buddy Joe Marbach, who I talked to today, and he's going to be, I think we're going to go tomorrow and do a little promotional thing for me. He's going to take me up to where I got my car, the dealer lot up there. What do they call that? I don't want to give the name away.
The auction?
The auction, right? The auction.
Yep.
And I saved me $7,000 at least.
Excellent.
Which was great for me because I'm a guy who likes to save money. Doesn't everyone? And so tomorrow we're going to do it again. But this time he's going to help me. We're going to make a video promo for him. And I might run into a car for my mom.
Perfect.
Right? But another thing I know is awesome about Joe is he spends a lot of time on a motorcycle. And he talks to me all the time about, man, you don't know what you're missing, cowboy. And I've never seen him on crutches or anything. So obviously he's very safe and does a great job driving his motorcycle. And he's just, you don't realize what you're missing. Sturgis, the Rat Run up here at Longshots, my buddy Andy. I've been to all these big events. I've been to Sturgis. I've heard about it for decades. What's it like? What are people really missing by not enjoying the freedom?
Well, aside from the local Rat Run, aside from Sturgis, which is a big festival a rally festival year by year, I've been through the Smokies twice. I've been through the Appalachians twice.
On a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle. Last year I did the Run for the Wall, which was a ride all the way through West Virginia and 2-lane highways in addition to 4-lane highways up to Washington, D.C. to the Vietnam Memorial. I've been up and down the Outer Banks of the East Coast, over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, which is half underwater and half above water. There's a lot to be seen. The freedom a motorcycle provides you allows you to immerse yourself in your environment, so you can smell the environment you're in. You can
Be in touch with nature.
yeah,
Yeah.
very much so, very much so. And
Car kind of knocks you out of that. You can roll the windows down.
you're correct.
But that's a little bit
You're
different.
correct. Not to mention the fact you're probably going to listen to the radio. You're probably going to have a million different diversions available to you in the car. You don't get that luxury on a bike. So as a result, your senses are a bit more heightened, which makes you feel just a bit more alive. And if I could put that into terms, that's probably at the heart and soul of the mystique of riding a motorcycle. You're definitely alive, and you know it because you're in the wind.
I just thought of something that might help us describe this. We don't get to game plan the whole thing. This is pretty much off the cuff. We have a little discussion beforehand, depending on how much time somebody's got. We did an interview earlier today that literally went off like clockwork. We had a time schedule. This is a very well-known musician who's done a lot, and he's going from one event to the next. And he's a great guy, Ethan Carl. And so check out that interview. But in our pregame prep, still didn't get. Mark and I've talked for a couple hours on the phone today while driving back from Nashville, and then because this guy's a really interesting guy. He's a Microsoft Exchange engineer. How long were you Microsoft Exchange engineer?
I worked for Microsoft for about 9 months, and then I was burnt out on being the go-to guy, get on the plane and geography hop all over the
But how long did you
countryside.
support computer stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I spent 10 and a half years with Equifax as a systems engineer working in infrastructure. So
Yeah.
that was my trade.
Yeah. And before that, you did a lot of fun stuff in the entertainment
I
world.
worked in rock and roll, touring the world, really, for about 12, 15 years. And prior to that, I was 10 years in the Marine Corps.
So thank you for your service.
Oh,
by the
you
way.
are very welcome. My pleasure.
Every military person I run into, police officers, I always say thank you. You literally provide for this freedom that we enjoy in this little part of the planet, right? Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll shout out, and I say this, much of my buddies, like they went to the Marines, I went to high school, or college, after high school. Semper Fi, right?
Hoorah.
Hoorah, right? And wonderful human beings that make a difference. But as you get into this, that's why I wanted you to get a little bit, we can talk more about Microsoft Exchange. I managed the Microsoft Exchange systems for a little brewery based out of St. Louis called Anheuser-Busch. That's why this show can be produced, because I know how to make all the interactive pieces coincide myself without having to hire a lighting guy and a sound guy and a video production expert and a camera guy and a producer and an editor. I do all of it. And I can do that because if you're computerized enough, you can do so. So that provides us a big advantage. There's some disadvantages, but not much. Bottom line is get yourself out there. People need to know what you're talking about. And we're always looking for the leaders who are making a difference on our little planet. And when you and I ran into each other, we talked about this a little bit today too. I'm like, there's a little bar right up the street. My girlfriend likes to go there. Her friend there, you met Gina.
Yep.
You met my girlfriend Tracy. And I'm like, I'm tired. I'm wiped out. I really don't have time. I shouldn't go up there. But man, I always meet the coolest people just running around town, talking to people. And you reminded me about how Tracy was talking to you, and then you met Gina, and then you met Tracy.
Yep.
And then I come around because I'm running,
Yep.
bouncing around, talking to everybody. My cousin actually works up there. And he's a singer, the bartender.
Oh, there you go.
Matt, my cousin, Matt Luker. And I said, Mark Feltz, I finally got his name out of an email. I didn't remember at the time we were talking about. But I said, Mark, what do you do, man? And we started talking about this. You've got an incredible background. I mean, like most people would dream of doing the things you
I've had a lot of fun.
We talked about some of the fun he won't share on camera here, maybe. But when you travel around the world
I've
doing
had a
stuff
lot
with
of fun.
bands, holy cow, you get to do a lot of cool stuff. But talk to him, maybe he'll share with you fun stuff. Anyway, so when you get to experience life, now you get that perspective, I'm saying, for people to understand. When you're riding a motorcycle,
Sure.
That's a different. So here I am. All that diatribe, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, to say I have been on the river many times. Is it that same sense of freedom? Because it was so empowering for me to sit up on the bow of my boat, on my captain's chair,
Yep.
and above the glass shield that provided some
Yes.
wind protection, but you just feel like you're in control of the world.
No doubt, because in fact, you're in the middle of the river and you are absolutely partnering with the river. It's got a current. You're going to guide according to that current. You're going to follow the traffic patterns on the river. You're going to avoid the logs, but you're going to enjoy the birds. You're going to enjoy the smells of that river. You're going to enjoy the barges which go past you, and they look over because you're all in the same vibe at that point in time. And that's very similar to riding a bike.
Yeah, I'd say the benefit you have with the bike that far outweighs that of a boat is that you're not really limited to where you can go. Actually, you can go places that cars can't go.
Absolutely.
But boat, like you're on the river or you're on a lake, and that's
Absolutely.
pretty much it.
Absolutely.
But the motorcycle, my buddies are like, oh yeah, I just weave through traffic sometimes when there's a big traffic jam, right? You can do that.
Well, I don't necessarily advise that. There's
Okay.
laws that in some states that allow you to do what's called lane splitting, which is basically in between two rows of cars. We got 3 lanes on it. You can get, again, if you're in a hurry, take the car. If you're enjoying the ride, why? Where you got to be that fast? Get out of the way of the problem, which is one of the things that I'm big on, making sure people understand. You don't experience a motorcycle in the same way that you experience a car. You can avoid problems, and one of the things that I work on, one of the things that I cater instruction towards is exactly that. You want to avoid problems, not react to them. Reacting is a lot of percentage of luck. I mean, you can be as competent as you can be, but you don't hold all the variables in that equation. So better to just avoid it. It's just not that important.
Well, that's now you're talking about how do we survive? How do we maintain? How do we keep a happy situation? That's where we put the cowboy hat on a little bit. All right, we're all about the community and what you're doing to make this all work together. Because it's very true. I think a lot of people, there's this motorcycle guy coming up on me again. But that's usually something they shouldn't be concerned with, because likely that motorcycle guy is a good driver and knows what he's doing, especially if he's had the training from you. What real benefits do you offer somebody? Because I can go get my license, I can pass my test, and
Absolutely.
then next thing I can go out there, get a motorcycle, I get my insurance, and I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
Except I'm almost dangerous out there at that point.
No question at all about it. As an example, the fastest growing demographic of new riders are women. This is 2025 now. I grew up learning to drive a clutch. There was no exception to that. You had to know how to drive a clutch. There were no automatics. That was an option that was way too expensive, like air conditioning. It was just not there.
I mean, you're talking about in a car,
Absolutely.
not on a motorcycle.
Absolutely.
Motorcycles, are they all clutch? Are they automatic now?
No, sir. Well, we have a couple of models out of Honda that are automatic transmissions.
Okay.
Beyond that, though, every bike has got gears.
Yeah.
Between 4 and 6. And as such, you're going to learn to move that clutch. So you have controls. They're constantly in operation. You have a clutch in your left hand, you have a front brake in your right, as well as a throttle in your right. You have a rear brake under your right foot, you have gears under your left foot. All of this has to be operated while you're balancing this on 2 wheels and moving safely through traffic. So if you get this all together and you come around your little loop and you pull up to the stop sign and you think you're in first gear, but you're in third. You let the clutch out, the bike lurches forward. If you're lucky, you get your foot down on the ground. If you're not, the bike falls over in the middle of the pavement. You have no idea what you did wrong or how to correct it, because that's never been an issue before, and you certainly didn't get that in your course that got you your state certification, your endorsement stamp on your license. You haven't run into that issue before. What do you do if you run into a puddle on a road that you can't move in the lane, and you're now going to hit that puddle at 25, 35 miles an hour. What will your tires do? Are they going to slip? Or are they going to slide? Did you check your air pressure before you got on the bike today? These are things that a pre-ride check goes a very long distance to safely operating your bike.
It's almost like an airplane check. It sounds
Yeah,
like
very,
but
very
very
similar.
important because I didn't realize you get in a car, it's pretty much automatic transmission.
Exactly.
98% of the time.
Yes.
I still have a Toyota Supra. It's in my storage. And it's great. And I used to learn, like, if the brakes went out, you can slow your car down by downshifting your gears.
Absolutely.
Same thing you do on a motorcycle.
Absolutely.
And another benefit, I guess, but also more to manage there. The reason I wanted to bring you on the show to talk about this is because how many people, they literally, I want to get a motorcycle. Wham, let's go. And now their life is literally in jeopardy because they don't realize the responsibility, maybe, that they have, probably not truly as much as they should understand, because this is a very critical skill they need to learn before they can safely drive. Because by getting in a car, you're doing the same thing. Well, a lot of people's life you're putting at risk if you don't manage that car
appropriately.
Right.
I'd like to remind people that, if you go all the way back to when you were 16 and you got your license and you're tooling around your neighborhood and you're feeling like it's going to be okay, and then that day comes when you take a deep breath and you start up the on-ramp to the interstate. And it's a whole different world, and it's scary the first time you do that. And you're holding on at 50 miles an hour in the slow lane and looking for your exit. On account of that was enough. I had a deep breath and okay. There's that group that will say, oh, no, I hit that thing and I was doing 75. And no, you're not. No, we were all 16, and that's the truth. So with that said, you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared for what road hazards will you encounter. You need to be prepared for what is traffic going to be like. What does it feel like the first time an 18-wheeler goes flying past you at 70 miles an hour? What does that wind feel like? And how is that going to impact you in the lane? Because it'll move you 2 feet in that lane. And that may be 2 feet onto pavement that's a little more dodgier than it was yesterday. Car drivers don't worry about what we call tar snakes. That fill in the middle that gets hot in the summertime and it turns to glass under your 2 wheels. Let's remember likewise stopping power. If you're in a car, you got 4 pieces of rubber that are on the ground. You push that brake pedal and all 4 pieces of that rubber are in contact with the ground, and physics tells us that friction's going to bring you to a stop. On a bike, you have 2, and they're in line. So if you've ever had to put the brakes on hard in a car and felt it pull one side or the other, imagine what that sense is going to be like on 2 wheels. You don't want to face that for the first time in your life in the middle of traffic when it's a life or death situation, literally. So why not get in a parking lot and let's practice that one time so you know what that's going to feel like. Let's kill the clutch one time. Dump it, just so you know what that lurch feels like, so that you know how to address these things and how to move beyond them. That builds confidence. Confidence builds awareness. Awareness and confidence combined will make you a competent and safe rider. And you can enjoy the bike that you spent that money on to go have that feeling. Same feeling you talked about being down the middle of the river.
By now, for certain, I'm calling Mark when I get my motorcycle. That's no doubt. But why would you not? Who are the people that need you most? Would you say it's the new rider? Or
I would say new riders.
It's the new riders. Are there a lot of people out there that have been riding, novice riders, if you will?
Absolutely.
They've ridden 15 or 10 times.
Absolutely.
And then they just kind of get around and they're like, man, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm a little nervous about this.
But they need to learn these things. They don't even know what they don't know.
Well, and that's a silly enough thing, but if you pull into the Waldron's parking lot and you happen to be parked with the nose of your bike on the downhill, well, there's no reverse gear. So if you have 700 pounds of motorcycle and you didn't note where you were going to park this thing, it was just the open space. Now you're struggling in neutral to back this bike uphill so that you can get out of the parking lot. Now, that's a stupid enough thing to think about, but if you're not used to watching for that, if you don't know, you don't know. And unfortunately, you never know what you don't know. And as such, I tailor instructional methods to individual riders. Some riders are absolutely comfortable leaning into a turn, making their turn, braking, stopping, quick stops. They're fine with that. Some riders are very nervous about a right-hand turn as opposed to a left-hand turn and making a turn from the stop. And how do I adjust myself on the seat? How do I manage the weight distribution while I'm pulling off from a dead stop? That's a good thing to be practicing in a parking lot to get you to a point where you're good with it, where you're not concerned about it, you're not fearful about it, you're not nervous about it. And again, getting over that builds confidence, and building confidence helps enhance awareness. And so, yeah, that helps you enjoy riding that motorcycle.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you don't have enough confidence to ride a motorcycle, that's because you haven't talked to a guy like Mark. How many people do what you do over in St. Louis? There can't be that many, I imagine.
Well, there's a few, but I mean, there's plenty of riders.
Yeah, there's a lot more riders that need your help than there are drivers or trainers that are available. But get a hold of Mark. He can help you do this and do a great job in doing so, because you want to be safe. You want to make sure that you don't cause a problem to potentially threaten the life of another human being, much less your own.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And that could be very detrimental. Well, I want to show up on the walls, everybody. We do have our TV walls here. You can take a look here. He says what I do. This is new on to llc.com, and you can see that they're on the camera I've got up there. They call that a lower third, but there is his website. That's the page of what I do. On the other page, on the other wall, we've got, this is the front of his website, and there are a lot of this information that you need so that you can garner the knowledge that you have to before you can. He'll tell you a lot about what he does right here. Take a look about it and learn. And then it says down, there you go, scroll down, get in touch. That takes you to that contact page, and right there you can see that phone number, and you can call Mark or can they text you there too?
Well, you can email if you fill that form out. It goes directly to me.
Okay.
So yes, you can email, you can text me. If you get a voicemail, I will call you back.
Okay. What's it generally? Give somebody a ballpark number. We got about 10 seconds left here for our half hour. How much does somebody spend on their training on average?
It depends entirely on what it is you're trying to do. But I would say that someplace you can comfortably expect to spend someplace between $40 and $150, depending upon what you need, how much time we have, how many visits you're making, whether or not I'm riding with you, whether or not we're doing this in a parking lot, whatever your level is. And that's hard to gauge.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Get a hold of Mark. Thanks for tuning in. Giddy up.